tight their skin is. You used to be like this. Hi, Michael Caruso.
Allison.
Hey, Allison. What? You know, I've got to use my microphone a little bit here. Allison, tell us what you do for a living and what club you're in.
I'm a physical therapist in New Orleans, and I'm with the New Orleans Mid-City Club.
Physical therapist in New Orleans. That's fantastic. And how long have you been doing that?
8 months.
Well, you're fairly new to the job.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And you're also fairly new to Rotary, yeah?
I've been in Interact, Rotaract, and now Rotary. So I've been in the family for a while.
Wow, you're a success story. Nice to meet you. I'm so glad you're here. We've already kind of met, but tell everybody your name and your affiliation.
Sure. My name is Stevie Price, and I'm a Rotary spouse, so not actually in Rotary, but I do marketing and fundraising for our local schools foundation.
Very good. And of course, Rotary spouses and partners are really important to us. Talk about change. This is interesting. At the beginning of my year last year, Renee and I are a lifetime, we're life partners, right? We've been together a long time. And Renee is very active in the district, and I was putting in my expense reports for travel because Renee is going with me to all these training things, right, as she's requested to do. My own district would not reimburse me because Renee and I were not married. True story. True story. And I had to work with our own district to rewrite the bylaws so I could get reimbursement for Renee's travel. Change, right?
Yeah.
Because the word partner is not in the bylaws. It's fascinating. And that's the blind spot again, right? We just go and go and go, and then we look back and say, oh, I guess we should have taken care of that a few years ago, right? But it happens, you know. So we're so glad you're here. Partners and spouses are really important to Rotary. Hey, we sat at lunch.
Yes, we did.
And you're from Troy, Alabama.
Yes. I'm Lydia. I work in marketing for a building materials manufacturer.
Very good. And you're from Troy, Alabama. I'm from Troy, Michigan.
Yes.
Tell me this. What is the difference between Facebook and Instagram?
Instagram is more photography, pictures, influencers. Facebook is more, well, Facebook's kind of declining.
I'm sorry, they didn't hear you. Could you say that one more time?
Sorry. Facebook is kind of declining.
Facebook is kind of declining. What a pity, since most clubs finally got a page out. And now Facebook is declining.
Maybe there's a relationship.
Maybe there is.
With them.
Yes.
We've just discovered it's declining with them.
So the idea is change again, right? Change. I mean, the calendar pages, ladies and gentlemen, are coming off the wall. It was, we've heard this many times this weekend. Aaron Brockovich says, now is our time, right? And Greg Yank says, this is our time. And Floyd Lancia says this morning, he says, we're not going to get a do-over. This is it, right? And so it's very important that we understand this stuff, and you guys, the young people, understand it, right? And you've got to stay honest about this, about Instagram in particular. And here's an interesting thing, LinkedIn, right? We always say we covet the young professional. We covet the young professional. But we're remarkably silent on LinkedIn. Remarkably silent. I mean, if you want to catch fish, people, you got to go where the fish are. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. Hi, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Oh, good. Shake hands. What's your name?
Brandon Riccotta.
And what, they gave you Branson at
Branson,
first.
yes, my alias.
What's your middle name? That's a cool, whenever anybody has a cool first name, I'm always curious about their middle name.
Steven, it's horrible.
Okay, let's move on. What do you do for work, man?
I'm the Director of Marketing and Physician Relations for a hospital, Cypress Point Hospital in Hammond, Louisiana.
Oh, I bet you're good at it too. So you have marketing, right? And marketing. And these are talent, right? These are people that are experts in what they do, and they're valuable resources. But we don't ask enough questions about them. We don't know who our own people are sometimes, right? We don't know how many siblings they have, right? Because we don't ask enough questions. We ask silly questions like about traffic and weather. And I've seen him a lot in my club, but we don't ever go out for lunch. Why is that? Because I already have lunchtime buddies. Because I have confirmation bias. I'm slanted to what I already know. It's interesting. I'm so glad you're in Rotary. Thank you very much. And now my old friend Doug. How are you, sir? You're about to be president again.
Yes, sir.
Of what club?
The West Mobile Rotary Club.
West Mobile. That's on the coast as well?
Yes, South Alabama.
Very good. What do you do for work?
I own a home inspection company.
Home inspection company. You're good with details, aren't you?
Very very, very.
Boy, we could use you. Congratulations. How about a round of applause for all the millennials, everybody? Thank you very much. I'm going to take a couple questions and we're going to wrap up. I hope you've enjoyed my program, yeah?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What I'd like to do, thank you. What I'd like to do, with your permission, please,
Yes.
Ms. Gutierrez.
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 Yes.
I want to give away a package of mine. This is a Present Like a Pro DVD. It's a master class in speaking. If you're doing anything at work or anything with Rotary with groups, you're going to want to bone up on this and be good. Because when you're good at presentations, you develop a critical mass. People will do whatever you ask them to do because you know the techniques. Present Like a Pro. I'm going to give you a copy of the Work Hacks book. These are secrets and little shortcuts for getting stuff done, being efficient. And then with Father's Day coming up, still coming up, yeah?
Yeah.
This is a product called Dear Michael Angelo. My father wrote letters to me and my brothers when my mother died. It was his way of keeping the family together. And one of the stories is terrific, in particular is terrific. When I was young, 6 years old, my father approached me on a Sunday afternoon and he said, Michael, who is the most important person in the whole world? And I looked up at my father, 6 years old, and I said, you are, Daddy. And he shook his head, no. And he said, why don't you think about that, son? I'll ask you again in a minute. A minute later, my dad said, Michael, who is the most important person in the whole world? This time I thought I knew the answer for sure. I answered quickly, Mommy. And he shook his head no again. And he said, Michael, think really hard, son. Who is the most important person in the whole world? And this time I looked in my father's eyes and I said, I am, Daddy. And my dad shook his head, yes. He said, that's right, son. It's the best self-esteem lesson I ever got. And you can ask your kids, you can ask your grandkids the same question. Get them to think about themselves as a complete person, as somebody that can do anything. Because those are the kind of people we need in Rotary. This package is worth something like $75, $80 online. I'm going to give it away in a minute. Could we have a